Hey everyone, today we're going to go over my best settings for Apex Legends Season 16, that Sweet 16, to help you move better, win more of your fights, and just straight up beam your enemies no matter the environment you're in. Big thanks on all the previous setting videos I have done. We do have some changes this time around, and of course, let me know in the comments what sensitivities you are running right now. I'm curious to hear what the majority of players are using. Truly remember, my settings are just a starting point. You still need to customize them for yourself, but hit that like button, and let's get right to it. We're gonna start off with the controller tab because I know that's what the majority of you players want. Button layout, I'm using button puncher. Basically, this lets me have my full movement without really needing to move my right thumb off of that right thumbstick since I can crouch right there. I also have two paddles, and I do have jump and crouch on those paddles. If you do not have paddles, I do recommend that you use Evolved. This will still allow you to have the complete movement and complete control of your character without needing to move your thumbs off of your sticks, which is huge, huge, huge. I cannot recommend this enough. This means you can slide around, jump around, all while aiming and shooting. You don't need to move that thumb off your stick. Even if it seems like it's a fraction of a second where you are kind of moving that thumb off the stick, it's a huge deal. Definitely recommend this. Of course, everyone is different though, and you can do custom button layouts, and I would recommend that you even try this to see maybe something will work even better for you. Stick layout, I am doing default. Interact reload, I am using tap to use and tap to reload. Absolutely, this is the one you need to be using. Crouch button, I'm doing hold. This just lets me bunny hop much easier than toggle. Aim button, hold. Survival slot on. Trigger dead zone, default. And then menu cursor speed, I'm also having about half. You want this to be as high as possible within your ability to control it. If you have it too low, you're not gonna be able to get that armor swap or just loot fast enough. Look sensitivity and ADS sensitivity, I am doing 4:3, super simple. This just allows me to completely own people in close range. I'm also on classic response curve because I've always played my FPS games on classic. If you want a little bit more consistent close range experience, you could do linear, but I do like classic because overall, classic is gonna be a little bit better at beaming at longer ranges because you just have that little finesse movement that you can do with your sticks. Here's my per optic settings, nothing too crazy here. A lot of defaults and 3s. The high optics I do 5 just so I can look around a little bit faster. Look dead zone, this is another big one. I do none. You could do small, but doing none basically just lets you have the maximum control over where you are looking. As soon as I hit the stick, I'm moving a little bit. If you have a really bad controller that does have stick drift, this will drift all over the place. But overall, I like no dead zone just so I do have the complete range of motion when I am aiming. Inverted look I have as off, and then vibration I also have as off because I've always played my shooters without my hand shaking. I feel like it does make me play a little better. And then we do have advanced look controls, which frankly I don't use anymore because I think classic is a more consistent experience, but you can copy these if you want them. Overall for these, I have no extra yaw or pitch or ADS looking around sensitivities. If you have extra, it's gonna ramp up your movement and you're not gonna really have consistency when you are looking left and right and up and down. And I want everything to be as similar or as much the same when I am looking around or I am aiming at enemies. Why would you want to use advanced look controls over something like the default settings? Really, the only reason is because you do have that extra level of customization when you are looking around. But overall, and a lot of pro players have agreed with this, that custom look controls are not really that great in terms of like overall aim snappiness as the default ones. So I don't really recommend you do this unless, of course, you want that customization to completely just have it be your own. A few things to know about the gameplay tab. This is huge. I think that players kind of skip over this, but we do have interact prompt style. I do default. I like to see all the default information when I look at like an attachment. Button hints I have as on. You could again have this as off if you don't want the hints. It doesn't really bother me. I just leave them on. Crosshair damage feedback I have as off. This is something that's very unique to me. I don't really like the X popping up on my screen when I'm hitting someone. I had the damage numbers that tells me I'm doing the feedback, so I don't really need my crosshairs or that X to pop up. If you are a Watson or a Caustic player and you have gas that might go off when you're not looking at it, you may want to have X or X with shield icon. But even then, you do get audible cues, so I don't think it's necessary. Damage numbers I have as stacking. I just want to know what the total damage is I'm doing. I don't need the floating like individual numbers or anything like that. So I do leave that as stacking. Ping opacity, I do default. I find faded. Sometimes I miss it. Obituaries, you want this on. That's your kill feed. Mini map rotation is something, again, unique to me. I leave this as off. I like the north side of the map always be pointing up. Weapon auto cycle on empty, I have as on now. This is something I did recently change. Basically, when I run out of ammo, my weapon is going to auto cycle. Auto sprint, this is also something that I have changed recently. Basically, as soon as I hit the stick, my character will start running. If I want to walk, you can kind of like move your stick a little to the like 2 or 10 o'clock, and that'll have you move forward in a not like sprinting fashion. So that is a little trick for you. Double tap to sprint I have as off. Jetpack control I have as hold. Basically, I just want the Valkyrie jetpack to be as natural as possible. So I just hold that jump down if I want to keep flying, and I let go if I want to fall to the ground. Incoming damage feedback, I just leave as 3D. This is the biggest thing in the game, I would say. Taking damage closes death box or crafting menu. This has to be off. If you're trying to get an armor swap and you get shot by one bullet, it's not going to rip you out of there. If you have this as on, it could rip you out. You might not get the armor swap in. You could just end up dead. Pop-up, pop-up, I have as on. This just tells you what the pop-up is that you are equipping. Streamer mode, I have as off. I'm not a big streamer. Anonymous node disabled. Usage sharing, I have as enabled. This is just sending data to EA. If you don't want this, you can turn it off. I don't really care. And then cross-platform, I have on. Performance display, I have this as off. You could turn performance display on if you want to see your FPS, if you want to see your pack loss. I leave it as off just because I'm recording content for you guys every day, and I don't want that on my screen. And then for the last few things, we got disabled club invites, communication filter, we have everybody. Reticule, I have as custom, and laser sight as custom. I do the same thing. I do like this neon green. I find it works amazing in the majority of the maps. There's only some very select, like really bright green areas on the maps. Almost never have this be as a problem, so I really love the neon green. I highly recommend it. And then we just got accessibility settings. All mine are off. I don't need them, but they are kind of up to you and what your needs are. Last thing, video tab. I do 104 field of view. You want anything over 90. If you got like 70 field of view, this is just like you're throwing hard if you have your field of view too low. So really anything over 90 I would recommend. Just gives you a little bit more awareness as to your surroundings. Again, if it's too low, you're just not going to see enemies. And then we do have field of view ability scaling. I have this as disabled. When I use an ability like Octane Stim, I don't want my FOV to change because it just does not provide a consistent experience. And this is just not what you want in a battle royale. Sprint view shake, I have this as minimal. Again, I don't want my screen shaking when I'm running, so I do minimal. And then audio is very specific to me, but the one thing that you should know about audio is you want your music to be a little bit lower and the dialogue volume also to be a little bit lower, just so you can always hear the sound effects. You don't want those two other things covering things up. And that is my season 16 settings. Let me know what you think of them. Check out this video right here if you are looking for a lot of ways to improve. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, and I will see you in the next one.